You've been running around telling your friends and family like, yo, who buying a Mustang for 300? I'll buy a GT3. I never. Listen, I've been in a Mirage doing 60 miles an hour. It felt like the doors were about to fly off, okay? It felt like the windshield was about to say, hey, y'all had enough of this, okay? I'm out of here, dog. Figure it out. Hey, you like cars? Well, so do I. Take a seat real quick. You're listening to CarQuicks. Back. You know what this is, right? What episode am I on right now? I don't even know what episode I'm on. I sound like one of them people that are not prepared. I'm prepared. Episode 27, CarQuicks. Let's just get down to it because there's some stuff to talk about. 27. Yes. Like I said, energy up. It's the 18th of August. Hope y'all doing well out there. Listen, the summer's over. I don't even know what else to tell you. It's a wrap. August is out of here. Listen, I got somewhere fun I'm going at the end of this month too, but it's over, baby. Kids is back in school. It's been blazing saddles, horses, cats and dogs, whatever. It's been on blazing out here, okay? The heat has been ridiculous. But speaking of that, I want to give a shout out to and thoughts and prayers, condolences to the families in Maui. I used to live in Hawaii, so that news has been terrible. And not to really start off on a somber point, but I kind of want to bring that out because I've been reading the news. I have friends out there, and it's terrible. It's really the only thing you can say about it. But jumping into the car news, I'm not even going to waste time. I'm not even going to give y'all any other news out the gate. I'm going to cut right to the chisnays. I'm going to cut right to the mustard. It's about the Mustang. You know it. You've seen it. You've been running around telling your friends and family like, yo, who buying a Mustang for 300? I'll buy a GT3. I'll never. Yeah. That price tag is something else. I mean, we really got to sit down as a family and ask ourselves, who is it for? It ain't for me. I don't got $300,000. Now, if I did, it probably means I got a bunch of other cars too. So I'm not knocking this car. So let's just dive into it. Let's dive into it. Because personally, I feel this is super fire. This is one of those exciting moments when something gets done that you didn't know was going to happen. It was a surprise. You didn't think the manufacturer had it in their will, in their bean counting ways in the boardroom to pull off something like this. But Ford essentially gave us the Mustang GT3 race car on the road. And it looks ridiculous. Crazy. Some people going to be on the fence being like, yo, still a Mustang. It don't. I mean, the car looks good. The car looks good. Mustang or not. I mean, all the names are what they are. Now, I get it. The price tag, and then you hear Mustang because you can go get a regular Mustang for like $40,000. And you can, I mean, listen, you can go get a regular Porsche for well under $100,000. I mean, if we're going to call it like that, and then you can get all the way up to a GT2 RS. But regardless, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about what Ford did. And what Ford did is they basically threw out their hat into the parade of European supercars and race cars, street race cars, basically, and said, come see us on the Nürburgring. Come see us at Sebring. Come see us at the Yas Marina. Where you at? So let's just talk about what this is. Mustang GTD. I don't know what the D stands for. Decimate, destroy. I don't know. I really don't know. However, 5.2 liter V8, 800 horsepower, push rod rear suspension, Multimatic dampers. If you know about Multimatic, you know just how good they make their system, which is basically runs on hydraulics, where they can change the spring rates of the suspension from soft to hard. You have two basic spring rates on this Mustang. I mean, rear push rod multi-link suspension. I mean, this thing is crazy. I mean, as far as the trick suspension goes, I'm not saying it's the most exotic thing we've ever seen before in a car, but when we're talking about $300,000 cars, the main competitor is a Porsche GT3 RS. You can get a regular GT3 for a little over $200. You add the YSAC package, the carbon ceramic brakes, we're at like $296. It's essentially what they benchmarked. If you look at what they did, the price tag, you pretty much know they were aiming at a GT3 RS or maybe even a GT2 RS, because I think those are a little bit higher. But it's in the same realm. We're talking real serious business. Huracan Performantes and whatnot. So what we have is the wing on the back, massive. I love how it looks. This ain't for everybody, but I'm big wing gang. So, I mean, I like big spoilers on cars. What can I say? The rear trunk has been eliminated. They got rid of the rear trunk for a dedicated cooling system on the gearbox. That tells you that, number one, they're really not here to play any games with any one of y'all. Okay, when we get on the track, I don't want to hear about stuff overheating. We're here to handle business. Outside of that, body is mostly carbon fiber. So I'm assuming the chassis, they haven't announced it, but the chassis I'm assuming is like aluminum. There's a tubular frame when it comes to suspension, which is pretty trick for a street car from a manufacturer, not from the idea of doing a tubular frame because it's been done before. This isn't something brand new. But in the realm of production cars, especially from Ford and from Mustang, this is something new. Brembo carbon ceramic brakes, massive tires everywhere. 345 millimeter tires in the rear, 325 in the front. The front tires are wider than most cars and most supercars out there right now. So this thing has rubber on rubber, grip for days. Now, titanium. Somehow they found a crashed F-22 Raptor. I don't know where it was at. Might have been Area 51, maybe one of the ones that shot down one of them little tic-tac alien spaceships. I don't know. But they took some of the titanium off that. They got paddle shifters, rotary dial, little serial plate that says whatever version or number these are. I don't even know how many they're going to make. I didn't look that up. I'm guessing this is very limited. We're talking about $300,000 for a Mustang. I mean, the only people that are really in this market are the Ford GT buyers or people that buy Porsches and Ferraris and, you know, other supercars and have a love for muscle cars and want to say, let me do something different. Let me pull up in something that you wouldn't necessarily see. See, the GT3 is fast. It makes about, engine makes over 500 horsepower, but we're talking about 800. Now, granted, the Mustang GTD most likely weighs more than a Porsche GT3 RS. But with 800 horsepower, I mean, whatever weight they've added or whatever weight it is, I think we made up for it. I think we're going to be good when it comes to keeping up with the rest of the Europeans on the track. Outside of the known information on it, they didn't give when, I mean, I think it's coming out 2024, 2025 in the spring. How are you going to get one? I have no clue. I don't even know what dealerships are getting this, if it's going to be a non-markup situation. I mean, let's be frank. If you got $300,000, I don't think a dealership saying you got to give me an extra $20K is going to stop you, or another $50K is going to stop you in your track. It might make you think and decide if you really like it that much, but we're talking about a totally different price bracket. I'm not even in this tax bracket. I don't even know about it. What I'm here to say is we are in the glorious of glory days. This is Ford saying, we're about to give you the top of the top, the tippy top. And then we don't know what we're going to do next. Now, they did say they're going to continue to try to make engines and V8s in the Mustang. But guess what? Keyword on try. Try as they may. The powers that be might come through and say, guess what, guys? The Dodge Challenger's electric now. It's time for y'all to buck up. Get in line. Electric Mustang time. We already got the Mach-E. Trust me, it's coming. Don't rest on your laurels if you choose to, but it's coming. Now, if you like the Mustang GTD, there's a dark horse. There's a new GT. I've already talked about this, the new Mustang. So I also want to point out something. I want everybody to remember what I said in my last podcast about Nismo and whatever they did on the Z and how afterthought it is. You see this? You see this? That's a true halo. That's a true, we're going to take a car that you have known and we're going to keep turning up the dial. They turned up to a high degree. The dark horse was the turn up. I was like, oh, snap, the dark horse is fire. They didn't, they weren't playing games. Then they came around and said, but we got one more. Another one. DJ Khaled style. They came out with the GTD. And here I am thinking about how Nismo threw out a little bit of a sprinkling, a little bit of seasoning. Ain't no Sazon, ain't no garlic powder, no onion, no cumin. There's no white, pepper. Like, what are we talking about? They didn't do anything to that recipe. They basically threw you the microwave and said, have at it. 20 horsepower. I mean, whatever. We're not going to get into it. I've already spoken on it. But this right here proves once again that these manufacturers have it in them to go all the way. And Ford just went all the way on the Mustang. You might balk at the price tag, but like I said, it ain't for us. Honestly, 99% of us listening to this podcast right now, it ain't for us. The $300,000 Mustang was never made for, it was made for us to see it, drool at it, hear it on a track, see it at a Cars and Coffee, see it parked, see it at a car show, talk about it, podcast, and be done. I mean, hopefully one day I see one of these. My oldest son might have lost his mind when he saw this, okay? Because he already loved the GT3 race car, and he saw this. He asked me, yo, that could be the next Mustang. I'm like, hey, a lot of things is moving and shaking. If we get to the point we can buy a GTD, things are looking up. Okay? Now, outside of the Mustang news, and listen, there's no other extra news, right? There's not testing against it. I'm excited to see this thing go up against cars. Like, I know car journalists, this is one of those things where like the car journalists and the people that are on big YouTube channels, I'm getting there with the podcast. When they get to drive cars, that's when I'm jealous. I'm like, man, what I would do to be at those press events to test that thing up against whatever they pull out. Porsche, Lambo, Ferrari. I want to see what that can do. That's going to be an exciting test review. I can't wait to see whoever has that, what they put it up against, because that's something that hasn't been done. Listen, like I said, enjoy it while we can. Now, jumping out of that, Zenvo. I want to say Zenvo, but that sounds like Lenovo, the computers, and that's not what I'm talking about. So, Zenvo, I don't know if you remember, but there was a certain company out of, I say UK, I could be completely wrong, but they had a supercar that had the wing that kind of went up and down when you're making turns. I said it was controlled by R2-D2 because that's what it just reminded me of. I don't know why, but whenever the car was making turns, the wing would tilt, and they said it would help with the downforce. I don't really know if anybody put that up to the true test to say that was the case. But they're back at it again. So at the Monterey Car Week, they announced their next hypercar. And I always find it funny because like they're so far out of ideas on super hypercars that all they can do is really just jack the price to the sky and start dropping in ridiculous numbers. So this has a 6.6 liter V12 quad turbo, 1,850 horsepower. I mean, at this point, we're playing Forza. I mean, Forza Horizon, when you got all the money in your bank, you just slapping turbo kits on everything. You're like, what's that? A Mitsubishi? Oh, okay, go ahead, add the stage 5. Oh, what's that? Oh, snap, is that a Geo Metro? Yo, give me the stage 5 with the all-wheel drive swap. We're just doing craziness right now. So it has electric motors. I think it has 3 electric motors in there, probably 1 in the rear, 2 in the front. 1,850 horsepower, 0 to 60, 2.3 seconds. This is basically them making the next version of what they had before. It comes in 2 versions. You have the Tur, and the Agile. Agile, that's what they're going for. Both of them are outrageous. It looks crazy. You see the pictures. I mean, if you listen to the podcast, go look this up. It's called the Zenvo Aurora. Okay, the Aurora, and it has 2 versions, the Tour and the Agile. Now, here's the funny thing. The chief, designer or chief operating officer of this company said that the V12 will make aliens cry. And I found that hilarious because I was like, yo, dog, aliens, like, what are we talking about? This joint better sound like the Jetsons. Okay, I better hear this thing and be like, okay, that is pretty nuts. It has 2 versions. The one that is called the Agile is the track-oriented version, 1,450 horsepower. It weighs 2,866 pounds. It loses the electric motors in the front, a little over 400 pounds it sheds. The other version, the Tour, is a more comfortable, powerful version with 1,850 horsepower. It has everything in it. It's a full luxury Grand Tour in that version. The track one probably loses, outside of the electric motors and probably some of the battery, not much as far as what's in the interior. You're not going to really see roll cages, I don't think. Only 100 are going to be made, 50 each. Listen, they're probably sold out. I wasn't called. Listen, they didn't hit me up and say, hey, CarQuicks, are you ready to get on the list for the Zenvo hypercar, the Aurora? I was like, I had the Oldsmobile Aurora. That was one of my cars back in the day. So they didn't hit me up for that. It starts at $3,926,000. Yeah. $4 million. Listen, have at it, guys. Have fun. It's cool. It's really in your face. It's exotic. But again, the hypercar world, they're just at the $4 million range now. They're like 4, 3, 5, 6. I mean, after the Bugatti, it was kind of like they just roll the dice on the ground by how much you want to make it. They just roll the dice. So I got a 6. All right, $6 million it is, guys. Crank it up. So if you got $4 million sitting around, you can go ahead and get on the list if there is a list. Outside of that, there's other things at the Monterey Car Week. Somebody bought a 1.8 million burnt up Ferrari. They burnt up and crashed Ferrari. It was an old Ferrari 500 Mondial Spider. It has a lot of history. I'm not about to dive into the history of it. It was Enzo Ferrari and how he raced it, who it was sold to, sold back and forth. It was sold in, non-restored race history, which basically means it was crashed. We never restored it, but you're still going to pay money for it. Listen, outside of it being an art piece in your house, which could be cool if you have a big enough mansion to stick this thing in the middle of the foyer or maybe somewhere in the dining room, I don't know if anybody's going to restore this. I mean, you see the picture. I mean, it's burnt up, it's crashed, it's rusty, but it got history. Listen, you asked me, somebody trying to move that money. That tax hit was about to come, and they're like, hey, I need to move $2 million. So please. Lotus is back, and they're doing something that is fire. So Lotus is bringing back the Can-Am race car. So you have to know what these are. Like, you remember the Can-Am, they look like door stoppers. If you remember the wedge design, as a kid, I thought them like door stoppers. You throw them with wheels on it, and that's what it looked like. It looked like basically some octagon trapezoid thing with wheels on it. Lotus is bringing it back. They have the Can-Am race car. They're only making a select few of them. Each one costs $1.2 million. It is getting made as close to the old one as you could ask. It has all the R&D. It makes 1,500 foot-pounds of torque, 1,800 foot-pounds of torque at 150 miles an hour. There's no windshield. This thing looks literally like a wedge flying through the air. And it still has the velocity stacks, the good old trumpets, off the back of the V8. 830 horsepower, 8,000 RPMs. I know this sounds ridiculous. There's no way this don't sound glorious. Sequential gearbox, ABS, anti-lock brakes and all that. It had the full technology. It looks like the old car. This is the type of stuff. See, this is where, if it was me and I had $4 million to spend on that Zenvo I just talked about, I would have been calling up Lotus like, give me one of those, because that's history and it's new. This is cool. So this is made, I'm pretty sure this is street legal, because I don't know where you would. If you get into an accident, somebody's going to fly over and maybe decapitate you, or it's going to fly over your car, because this is a wedge. So you pretty much got to be on the track. It looks fire though. Look these up. Old Can-Am racers. Lotus is bringing it back. It's good to see, It's good to see when companies are going back to the retro side of things and bringing back something new and improved. So ZDX. So the Acura ZDX is out. It doesn't look as extra as the original ZDX, because I realized they wanted to make this more so for the everyday public, because the ZDX originally had a very chopped rear roof, so it was very coupe-ish, BMW X6 type of style. So it wasn't that much utility when it came to the rear. So this one looks clean. I like the outside, very clean design. I mean, They held true to the ZDX line. It does have more of an MDX shape, but I kind of feel like that's what was to be expected. I thought they're going to go a little bit more on the rear side of it as far as the portions when it comes to the rear hatch, but it still looks clean in the front. However, my issue is with the interior. We'll get to that in a second. It's going to have a Type S, up to 500 horsepower, 102 kilowatt battery. The A-Spec version has 340 horsepower, only has one electric motor. It can be had in all-wheel drive. If you get the Type S, you get gigantic 15.6-inch 6-piston Brembo brakes in the front, because clearly this thing must weigh about 5,000 pounds. You get mileage range of 325 miles on the A-Spec. You get 288 if you get the Type S. If you get all-wheel drive on the A-Spec, you get 315 miles of range. It starts at 60,000 miles. It has what they call their hands-free cruise with 400,000 miles of road that's compatible. Now, if anybody's been paying attention, Acura and Honda have done a partnership with GM for their technical side of things. So the Super Cruise that GM has is what they put in this car. And some of the other things, they've kind of shared things. I don't know how much of the chassis. Acura says that they've worked with their engineers to make sure the ZDX handles and performs how they deem Acura should handle, meaning we're sharing the same chassis, but we did our own little tweaks to make it feel more Acura-ish, if that makes any sense. But it looks good. You know, now the interior is where, for $60,000, this interior here is just not, it's not enough. It's just not enough. This looks like the regular Honda Civic interior. And when you start getting into this realm, I'm assuming 60 is where we start. If we get to the Type S, we're probably talking about 72, 75. This interior ain't enough. Like, it's just, it's cool. It's black. It's a little bit of a red stitching. I don't know if it's a Type S interior, the A-Spec. I'm assuming it's a Type S one because they're going to show the high spec one when they're revealing cars. And it's just, it needs to be better. I'll be honest. It needs to be better. It's too regular. I see a little bit of GM switch gear in there, I think. It's just not, for how good the exterior looks, this interior is a little bit of a letdown when you jump inside the car. I'm sure overall it drives well, sounds well, has an 18-speaker Bang & Olufsen system. I'm sure that joint knocks. But I shouldn't be able to see a dashboard that looks so similar to like a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic in the Acura. It looks just like the Acura Integra. I mean, this needs to start moving the scale up when we're talking about the price, moving the scale up. Don't have any information on when that's coming out. Probably somewhere around next year, spring sometime. They're going to hurry up and get this out because they need to make some bread. And that's going to be one of the vehicles that Acura uses to very launch off their electric, you know, their electric car push SUV. That is what sells the most. Another crazy vehicle. Back to the hypercars, because like I said, they got nothing else to do but do some craziness. Pininfarina. I'm sure. Listen, if I said that wrong, please forgive me. The B-95 was announced at Monterey Car Week. The B-95 is based off the Batista, which was their electric hypercar. It made 1,877 horsepower, or near 2,000, I think, in the coupe one. This one has no roof. 1,900 horsepower with no roof. I mean, they give you custom helmets, but listen, where I live, I've seen enough things flying on the freeway past my windshield. At 186 mile an hour top speed, I can't even imagine you risking yourself to do that, because if something hits you in the head, both y'all going to sleep, okay? At 150, something hits you in the head, a box, a sandal, a chancla hits you in the forehead with the helmet on, and you might be going to sleep. Okay, so be careful if you have the money for this. 0 to 62 seconds. The seats on this look crazy. I mean, these are some fire seats. Houndstooth at the top, caramel brown leather at the bottom. I mean, you see it in the picture. This is a dope looking interior. It looks very Bachmano-ish. If you know what a Bachmano is, it's that single seater. I don't know if they're in the US or if they're allowed to be, but I know they're over in the UK and overseas. This looks very much like that. Extremely long front end. This thing looks nuts. You want to talk about spaceship, space shuttle landing down on the ground? This is that. It looks that fire. One of the dopest details that you can see on the screen, it has something which I think is like luggage or some compartment that's held by a leather strap inside of the roll hoop in the rear. I don't know why that detail resonated with me so much, but that looks extremely fire. The whole car looks dope. I mean, if you're in this bracket, get ready. Only 10 are being made. 10 at 4.79, call it $5 million. Yeah. Listen, the Powerball winner, the last one that was like $2 billion or whatever it was, they've already been chosen. Better hurry up and get your tickets. There's only 10 of these left. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Hurry up. Another car, this is going to be the funny portion, right? Because I'm about to wrap this up. Mitsubishi is axing the Mirage car. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with everybody here. If you're currently in a Mirage, my apologies and my condolences, because this is ridiculous that this car is still being sold and it's just now getting the axe. If you don't know what the Mitsubishi Mirage is, it's because you don't need to know about it, okay? You should be glad. Keep it pushing. This is nothing to see here. Nothing to see here, folks. Just a $20,000 and under brand new car. Now, I know you're like, wait, for under $20,000 brand new, that's better than some used cars. Just Miles, listen, go and buy that Honda Civic. Go and buy that Camry. Go and buy that Chevy Trailblazer. You do not need to buy a brand new Mirage. This car is honestly a waste of your time. 3-cylinder, 78 horsepower. Let me tell you something. My lawnmower is a better form of transportation, okay? I got a 3-cylinder, my GR Corolla. There's a giant difference. 300 horsepower, 78. I would never trust this car to merge into the freeways that I'm on. Now, if you're on the back roads only, if you're only going to the Dollar Tree, if you're only going to the supermarket, if you're only going to the post office, by all means, 78 horsepower your way around, because, I mean, essentially it's a golf cart with 4 doors and some airbags, okay? I don't even know who was buying this. You know them little tight cars, the little buggy that every kid has? My kids had it, your kids have had it, everybody's had it. That's more luxurious. Yo, I can't even imagine somebody going into the Mitsubishi dealership like, hey, bring around one of them Mirages, okay? I really want to see what them things are all about. You might get the salesman to laugh at you and be like, wait, you're not here for an Outlander? Not for an Eclipse Cross? No, Mirage. They're like, I mean, yeah, we got some. I mean, they're kind of Mirages, but I mean, what you see is what you don't get, okay? You might see a good price. What you're not going to get is a good car, okay? These things is not the business. Have you ever driven in one? Have you ever driven in a Mirage? I know if Mitsubishi hears this, they'll never send me on a press conference. They're going to be like, yo, the way you talked about our car and our engineers, listen, I've been in a Mirage doing 60 miles an hour. It felt like the doors were about to fly off, okay? It felt like the windshield was about to say, hey, y'all had enough of this, okay? I'm out of here, dog. Figure it out. Yeah. So the Mirage is about to be done. The only thing I can think of, the rest of the stack of Mirages that are at dealerships, is that somebody's going to snatch them up to use on fleet cars. Maybe they're going to use them on Toro or hypercar. That's about it, because really, I didn't even know they're still being made. So, you know, listen, if you have Mirage, it's all good. I'm sorry. You know, it's not that bad. But it is. And there you have it. Another episode for the books. Check out the video if you haven't. I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. Like, subscribe, Apple Podcasts. You know the drill. You haven't been subscribing. You've been looking at the videos and you've been asking yourself, yo, I should probably subscribe to this guy's channel. And you should do that, okay? Because you know why? Good things come to those who subscribe, okay? If you don't believe me, ask. It's true. Now, I'll see y'all around. It's been good. It's been real. The Mustang GTD is fire. I mean, price tag or not, that's exciting. That's the type of thing we want to see. We want to see stuff like that. That's dope. It's a bunch of hypercars coming out. If you hit the lottery, I mean, you got a pick of the litter. I mean, everybody's willing to take your $4 to $5 million and give you something that you can't even remotely tap into on public roads. But we got them. We got them. And as always, as I say, do as you wish and do as you may. It's Cameron Biggs, your host. and this is CarQuicks.